My first show with AIN was the Farnborough Air Show. I pretty much went home with the company in the packing right after the show. I arrived in New York on a one-way ticket. It was an Air India flight. I won a ticket in a competition and just threw caution to the wind. I didn't even know in those days where New Jersey was, where they were based. I had been recruited by the quite brilliant but very eccentric Jim Holohan. And my first day in the office, in AIN's head office, on my desk was an airline ticket, which nobody had told me about, and it was a ticket to New Orleans. And I thought, how romantic, what an exciting, exotic place to be going. Turns out I was going to the NBAA show that was in New Orleans that year. And because I was a rookie, of course, I got all the really arduous, terrible jobs that nobody else wanted to do. So I started out being the junior assistant headline writer in the production department. And one of my very first jobs was to go out and get some refreshments for the senior headline writer at about 11 o'clock in the morning. Now that doesn't sound very extraordinary, but his idea of an 11 o'clock refreshment was a bottle of wild turkey bourbon. So I was sent out to the liquor store. I'm coming out of the liquor store, and who should I bump into coming out of the bar next door but one of the company's owners and our head of sales. I'm going to be discreet, I can't quite reveal their names, but I'm sure they had legitimate business in that bar at 11 a.m. in New Orleans. Later that night, I was sent to the printer. We used to print things old school style in those days, and my job was to check the pages the very last minute, working with a young woman who was about 5 foot tall, who insisted on keeping a loaded gun on her desk. And you know, I'd only been in America about 7 days, and I thought America's an even crazier place than I thought. But apparently I was in good hands with her, and I lived to tell the tale. I think the number one thing you need to do is you need to dress for success at these shows. You need to carry yourself in a way that makes you look like you belong. And that's a paradox, because you know, fundamentally most reporters, certainly aviation reporters, are kind of misfits and mavericks, but you've got to dress like you're a high net worth individual, or as close to that as you can manage. And two reasons for that. Number one, your editor might need to ask you to go interview some very elevated person. It could be the president of France, quite literally. Could be Prince Mohammed of Dubai. And you need to be ready for that. The other thing is, particularly at private aviation shows, if you dress well, before you know it, the salespeople there start to assume that you genuinely are in those sort of elevated ranks, and that you're used to a 5-star luxury lifestyle, totally at home on a yacht. And it's amazing how you can get away with that. I'm often just chuckling inside thinking, if only you knew that, you know, you spent more on one night of your hotel than probably our entire budget for 20 people coming to this show. If you want to get by at air shows, you need to treat every meal, or if not a meal, every eating opportunity as if it could be literally your last, because there can be huge gaps because of the hours we keep. I was once here at eBase with colleagues, and we had all sorts of horrendous problems. Long story short, we basically didn't have a meal for 3 days. We had a few scraps and peanuts and things. So what you tend to do is horrendously overeat, and then find that 4 hours later, your next last ever meal comes, and you know, it's not a great way to keep the cardiologist at bay, but you have to do it.